do I have to hit the gavel? Call the meeting to order officially. Okay. And you know, I'm new to the chairmanship, so feel free to correct me or stop me at any time if I'm not following Robert's rules of orders. But do want to call the meeting to order, and the first thing is to approve the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The agenda is approved. Approval of minutes. Everybody should have gotten a copy of those ahead of time too, but they are here. Is there any discussion about the minutes or a motion to approve?
Move for approval.
Okay. No discussion, no amendments. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. On the agenda items, we have one request for variance from Anthony Velez, applicant, who is requesting a variance from Article 2, Section 2.4, minimum lot area of the Fairfield County Land Management Ordinance, number 599. The property is located on Royal Hills Lane, Winsboro, South Carolina, 29180, on tax map number 0870400015000. All right.
Transfer over now, give my report. All right, so as you mentioned, Anthony Velez, applicant, is requesting a variance from Article 2, Section 2.4 of the Fairfield County Land Management Ordinance number 599. This section sets forth requirements for minimum lot areas in the amount of 43,560 square feet for lots on individual wastewater systems in the RD1 Rural Residential Zone District. Also allows for variances on public water and sewer of half an acre. Property is located on Royal Hills Lane, Winsboro, South Carolina, and is on tax map number 0870400015000. Current zoning is RD1. No proposed change in zoning or anything like that. And if y'all take a look at the adjacent property zoning, it's all RD1 as well. So staff recommendation, applicant wishes to subdivide the parcel B, which consists of 0.43 acres as reflected on the reference property survey, which does not meet the requirements for minimum lot areas as set forth in Article 2, Section 2.4 of the Fairfield County Land Management Ordinance number 599. The area surrounding the proposed parcel is zoned RD1 and consists of smaller parcels along Royal Hills Lane and Old Airport Road. Parcels in this cluster of properties range in size from 0.25 acres to 1 acre and were created prior to the adoption of the current ordinance. Approving the variance would not deviate from the features of this neighborhood and would not create an abnormality in the area. Back to you, Carrie.
Okay. So, any questions, discussions?
Yeah, so the existing subdivision with the smaller lots, are they on septic tanks or are they on?
Some of them are on septic tanks, some of them are on public water and sewer.
Do we have any idea that the ones that are on septic tanks are bigger lots, smaller lots?
I don't know. I know there are some out there that are on septic, but there's also a sewer line that has since been installed out there. So there are some that's on public water and sewer. And this property does have access to public water and sewer as well. And then just as a backup,
did you say this property does have access?
It does, yes. So this property does have access to public water and sewer. And also as a backup, if you look in the supporting documents, there is a letter from DES saying that even if the public water and sewer would not be available, it could still be suitable for a septic tank system.
So which part of this are we talking about? What is it?
So if you look in the supporting documents.
Ms. Matthews, that might help you out a little bit.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
So if you look in the supporting documents, it's going to be that little parcel right there.
That one.
Thank you.
Okay.
And you can see that on the survey that's in the supporting document. So parcel B, which is 0.43 acres, he is looking to go ahead and break that off and subdivide that for means of selling it. And that falls under the half-acre minimum requirement for lots in the RD1 zoning district on public water and sewer.
So
Okay.
He would basically cut it in half and sell
Is that
So-
subdividing that one little
Correct.
piece?
He would subdivide that one little piece out of the overall 70-some acres.
But not subdividing,
Yeah.
not cutting this
No,
into
yeah.
pieces.
So the variance right now is cutting that portion off from the greater parcel and keeping that 0.43 acres.
Okay,
Yes.
so,
So what are we being asked to approve? Are we being asked to approve 0.43 up to half an acres for public water and sewer? Are we being asked to approve 0.43 acres up to a full acre for a septic tank?
So you're being asked to, well, really neither of those. You're being asked to approve the variances for the request of being allowed the creation of an acre, of a property that is 0.33 acres, which falls less than the minimum acreage requirements in RD1.
Yeah, but you got two requirements.
There are two, correct. So there's,
Half an acre for public water and sewer. And I
Correct.
see there's a pump station in there somewhere, so you would think that the public water and sewer is available.
right.
All I'm saying is going from 0.43 acres to half an acre
Mm-hmm.
is a lot easier for me to swallow than going from 0.43 acres to an acre for a septic tank.
Right. So according to DES, there's no minimum lot size requirements for septic tanks. That's something that the county puts in place, where properties in the RD1 district that are on individual wastewater systems, which the septic tanks have to be an acre. But as I mentioned, there is public water and sewer in the area, and some of those parcels on that road consist of both public water and sewer and some septic.
But his particular property is suitable for what? This particular lot is suitable for
Neither one.
septic or
You want to go ahead and
Public.
touch on
Well,
that, Anthony?
Yeah, so there's really no minimum lot size for septic, so the only thing that would be different would be the type of system. It might be anaerobic, it might have to be discharged through like a sprinkler system. But according to the DES, the lot size is not, doesn't matter to them. It might to you guys as a county, but public water and sewer are accessible on that lot, which is what I'd be hooking up to anyways, if I was to do that. So it's not like I'm trying to get a septic tank on the property. I'm simply just trying to subdivide it from my large parcel because it's not touching my land either. So even if I wanted to make it an acre, I can't, because it's a separate parcel. So I'm not. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, go
No,
ahead.
it's okay. I was just gonna ramble. Go ahead.
Okay, and it was noted that there are already grandfathered in are
Yeah,
lots
so
in that neighborhood that are much smaller.
Right, so that was done in the area at the time that in 2012 when the zoning was adopted, all those lots got zoned RD1, even though those lots themselves are not in compliance with the current zoning.
So it looks like if these are lots that are marked off here, it's gonna be bigger than,
Yeah, so you
know,
can see
than
like
many
there's
of
some
the
smaller
lots
lots on
around
here.
there.
Some of the lots go down to as small as a quarter of an acre.
acre.
Now, again, I don't know which one of those lots are on septic versus on water and sewer,
It's very sporadic.
but there's both.
But
that are on that
we
road.
don't decide, have anything to do with when he needs to hook up to water, anybody who is developing that does water, is that gonna?
Right,
have
so
to do with
law
us, or is that is?
Yeah, so the law requires that if there's public water and sewer, you have to hook up to it, okay? But that letter is simply evidence that for whatever reason, if the utility provider were to say, no, we don't have a capacity to service you, according to DES standards, that the site is suitable for a septic
They
tank.
don't.
That doesn't mean it's not gonna perk, but according to DES requirements, they can still issue a septic tank permit on the parcel because minimum lot size does not come into the equation for DES.
So is the intention then to sell it as 0.43 acres, sell it
Yes,
intact, not to
Yeah,
subdivide
no, I'm
it
not
any
trying to
further?
subdivide it or anything. I think that works like, when I called Mid-County Water, they're like, we can't support a subdivision. I'm like, no, I just need confirmation that I can hook up another existing lot.
Okay.
And I did a locate too with 811, and I figured out all the entities that would hook up to it. Everybody said, yeah, we provide service, and they gave me a price and tried to get me, to hook up, but I don't have an address yet, so it's just a parcel number. So, but really all I'm trying to do is just separate it from my land, because it's not like I could make it an acre if I wanted to, it has neighbor's property all the way around it.
This land
So
lot.
essentially, I'm just trying to have a different tax ID number for this, so I can sell it if I want to, or I mean, I just don't want to be responsible for something in between other people's houses that's outside of my land. Kind of what I'm getting at. So
Well,
I have no intention of making a half acre into 2 parcels and putting homes or, nothing like that. I just don't want it part of my master parcel, I guess you'd say, like the main one, because I'm just trying to live there. So I just don't want to own any land that's not attached to me. I guess is how I word it.
okay, I have a few questions. For one, do you have a letter of provider? Who's gonna provide for you for the septic or
No, I mean,
sewer or?
I got an 811 thing, and that was, I just did an 811 dig, and they sent me, that's how I figured out who had the sewer out there. Because when I called Winsboro, they said they don't service that. It's South Carolina Water Utilities.
So you don't have a letter of
No, I just had
provider?
the 811 that they would allow it, that they are in the neighborhood. So I mean, there's active sewer and water. It's multiple parcels that are around me. I've talked to the neighbors, which doesn't matter here, but some, like, it's all sporadic throughout there. There's certain people that are on septic, some are on water. And I think it was more so the homeowner's choice that they wanted to pay, the hookup fee and run the pipe. So I talked to quite a few neighbors out there, and I mean, I talked to Herb at Mid County Water. He said it's not an issue. They can't support a subdivision. And I'm like, no, I just want to get rid of this lot. So in the event I was to build on there, everybody that I spoke to, which was South Carolina and Mid County Water, said that they would not have a problem, providing service.
So if you were to build on there, you would do public. But if you were to sell it, does that lock the other person in to do?
So by
Because-
law, if public water and sewer are available, and that utility provider can provide access, okay, you have to hook up.
Yeah, I know,
DES will
I know
not
that.
issue a septic
I know
permit
that
on-
part, but because septic tank wasn't even in my mind till you brought it up, so that was just like added information that kind of confused me even more. I don't know about nobody else, but because you brought that septic guidelines in, which I know they do not require per se, because I retired from working environment health, but regardless, you still have to have an acre when you're doing a septic tank, right? I mean, the county. I ain't talking about
correct.
DHEC.
At the
Okay,
county-
because
at
we're
the
worried
county
about
regulations,
county
that's
right now,
correct.
because we can't change DHEC, because
Right.
we're not, that's not our job.
So at the
here-
county regulations, that's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So then when we talk about the grandfathering it in, I understand that, and I understand why you're looking at surrounding lots, but at the same token, for me, that makes no difference to me because they went under that guideline. What we're dealing with now, we have the new guideline, and what's your name? Anthony is under the new guideline. So, Anthony, when you purchased this land, did you do due diligently to find out is this particular one city by itself is going to be able to utilize before you purchase the whole 70
I've
something?
spoken to her multiple times, and the South Carolina Water Utilities, I spoke to them because there's a lift station.
But what about community development? Did you not know that it was possible that you would not be able to use this section unless, one, you come before the board and get approval, or two, that you separate it by selling it, maybe see if somebody adjacent to there want to buy it?
So that was kind of what I was doing with the other parcels in the land, that are touching other people's property too, because they won't conform, and I would have to move my property line to make that. But this one right here, I mean, it would conform to everything, and if I can't subdivide it in a variance, then I'm kind of like stuck in like a regulatory taking, because what am I gonna do with it? It's just undevelopable land, but it has access to public, utilities altogether. So I just, everything in there is as it should be, I don't know how to explain it further than what I do. I have access to both utilities, and I can't extend the lot. I can't make it bigger physically,
Yeah.
So,
Is there any road access?
yeah, it's right on Royal Hills Lane with neighboring
That's
people.
what the yellow
Yeah.
one is.
That's Royal Hill Lane.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the middle of it's literally a lot in between, developed residential neighborhoods. So it's not like I'm in the middle of nowhere trying to run a water pipe from God knows what. I mean, it's literally just, there's 2 houses that have active water right there. So,
But have you spoken to them?
I've
Do
spoken
they
to
have
multiple
any
neighbors.
do they have
Yeah.
any interest in purchasing it from you?
So I've spoken to multiple people that are interested in that, and that's what, if you can look, I mean, if you guys have the survey up, you can kind of see how it has like a pumpkin's teeth of lots. So a lot of the other property owners, I've actually talked to them about, because I want my property line essentially to just be straight. I don't want to have to maintain, a property line that's such and so do have a couple people a few of the people with adjacent abutting lots that are willing to purchase them. But this lot is totally separate, I can't extend it, I can't touch it.
Yeah, I understand that.
Excuse me, my house, my property is right there. I got property I just bought a few years ago, it's right there. Cause my property is on the corner,
What's your name?
and I'm Ricky's wife.
Okay, yeah, I told your husband.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that property is right next to the property I just bought.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you got
it's up for grabs, we'll look into it, but.
Yeah.
Right. See, that's
Might
we
get a
don't
deal
know.
struck right here.
Well, so,
I've been up there all my life, and I'm like, that's why I can't.
Well,
That's why I bought that, that's why I bought that,
Right.
that's why I bought that corner lot, cause I said, I don't want nobody to decide.
well,
either way, if I was to sell it, I would have to get the variance approved to subdivide the lot. You know, and for me, I just don't, I wanna have one resurvey to separate everything. I still have to talk to Jackie, who's across the street, and there's another lady. That's you? Okay, well, I talked to someone when you had your graduation party.
Oh, right.
I think I
Okay.
also spoke to you.
Okay.
So I am willing to deal with a lot of these problems separating and stuff, but if I do choose to keep it and sell it, I mean, it's still my right, you know? What I'm here for is a variance, I'm not here for sales or for anything like that. And I believe that I've covered all bases on what I need to prove. And I mean, from like a standpoint from where I'm at, there's nothing I can do to make this property conform to a half an acre or an acre. The variance is simply stating that if another person came in, even if I sold it to you in the event you wanted to sell for it, you would either have to combine your parcels or you would have to get the variance approved. You know what I mean? So this is just step one for no matter who has to do anything. It's just kind of.
is that the case?
No, so you're saying, say that again, cause you saying you have to get it subdivided to do anything with it? Or what are you saying? You have to do, I'm sorry. You have to get a variance to do anything with it, not to subdivide.
No, well, that's my goal, is to take this off of not to make a subject. I don't know if I'm using the right word. I basically want.
Cause we're just talking about that one particular parcel.
Yes.
So,
I
You're
just
not talking
want.
about subdividing that
we're
part.
not talking about,
No, I'm talking about subdividing that from my main parcel,
Right.
which is not attached to that.
right.
And I know you guys have 2 acres that are on the left of it and stuff like that, but all I want to do is just have its own tax number. In the event I want to give it to my children or I want to sell it, I might sell it to you. But I want to have 2 tax bills for different things. And I was actually going to come over tomorrow. I'm happy you're here. But I was actually going to talk to you. Right where that gate's at is where I want to cut my property line. The only way that I can do that is to get with you and resurvey it to you, and the same thing on the other side with Barbara Foster. So there's quite a few things that I need to do with the property, but this lot is just for a variance. That's all personal items and stuff, but what I'm here for is a
But the
variance.
piece of property, unless you are calling it a lot for development, a house lot, doesn't have to have any variance, only if you are planning
I'm
to.
trying to resurvey, and like with her, my uncle spoke to her, and she actually mentioned to my uncle last year that she'd be willing to buy some of the land. So if you look at the map, it's kind of just like this. I basically want my property line straight, no matter how I have to do it. This lot is totally separate.
Separate.
Yeah, it has property all around it, her property and then someone else. So I just want to, I want to have the ability to sell it to whoever. It doesn't have to be them. It would be easier to sell it to a neighbor, obviously, because I can just go with them, speak to a survey person, split the cost, which I've done all this research and due diligence. I'm ready to do everything I want to. I talked to the guy that was doing the lot next year that he just got, and I actually talked to him about it. So I have a lot of things in play, but this right here is just the first step for me, because in the event I wanted to build a house there, which I understand you don't want that to happen, but if I wanted to, it's still my right as a property owner. This is just, I'm only here for the variance, I guess I'm just confused, I'm being overwhelmed.
To further clarify what he mentioned, so the only option that he would have to sell it right now, based on what he's mentioning, would be to sell to either of the adjacent property owners that are currently next to him.
Exactly.
If they don't have an interest or they can't come to an agreement, then he would not be able to sell the property unless he were to get a variance. Because you would be creating a new property, a new tax type number, a new parcel that is in the GIS that does not meet the minimum lot size requirements per this zoning district, which is on public water and sewer, half an acre.
If you thought about it historically from a practical point of view, when the zoning ordinance was changed, if you could look at every little lot, every individual situation, you'd probably look at that and say,
There was two.
it doesn't make sense
Right.
to make an exception out of 0.43 acres. That should be grandfathered in, and they should be allowed an exception kind of automatically. I'm just thinking about it.
Right.
I mean, the
In
parcel
real
already
world
is
terms.
whatever size it is, so, yeah, so unless you're limiting, saying, you know,
Right, so a lot of these properties right now, because they're even too small, are in non-compliance with the current zoning regulations.
But they're grandfathered in. I mean, it just sounds like to me, and it's just me, it sounds like to me that you're trying to convince me, I'm not speaking for nobody else, that this make him right because everybody else got smaller lots. But we're not concerned about these other lots. I'm not, because we already know that they are legally done because they was already grandfathered in. What I'm talking about right now is this gentleman's piece of property. Me personally, I think that he should at least attempt to negotiate to try to sell that if that's an option on the table. That's my thought for that go. And the reason being is I don't feel like he did his due diligently to try to see, to make sure that what he was getting, he could do whatever he wanted to do with it. So we're just talking about, I mean, we can say it on my, we're talking about 0.07. I agree with that. But according to what the ordinance said, we're looking at 0.50. I don't see a hardship. Is there a hardship to this? I mean, I know there's somewhere we can leave, get away from this if there's a hardship, but I don't see a hardship. It's shaped in a good direction. He had the opportunity. He brought it in 2024. He had the opportunity to research, come talk to community development, and I know you all, that's y'all recommendation, but based on what I see, I think the best option would be to try to sell it to someone adjacent, especially when he have people who are interested in it. And if that doesn't work, can he find for another appeal?
You could, yeah. You could.
I think from a zoning perspective, the question we have to answer is, would allowing an exception to the zoning, the variance that he's requesting, create an anomaly? Would it make that a sore thumb kind of property, or would it be an exception that nobody else gets to enjoy?
Right.
And the question in my mind is, it fits with the rest of the neighborhood.
Right. It doesn't fit within the overall county.
That's
right. But in that street, a lot of those other parcels are even smaller.
You've got some that are much smaller. You've got some that are bigger. This is kind of in between. It's not going to create an eyesore or an opportunity to put a commercial building or anything like that. It's a residential lot of typical size for the neighborhood. So to me, it fits.
And I mean, he could put a house on it. I mean, so long as he meets his setback requirements, if he wanted to go ahead and build himself a house on it, he could.
And yeah, it meets the setback requirement.
Or sell it, right?
Or sell it, yeah.
Sell the whole thing if you wanted to.
Yeah. By approving the variance, you would allow him to go ahead and pursue any means he wants with it, either to develop it or to go ahead and sell it to adjacent property owners, to sell it to someone else who's not in the community that wants to move in. Right now, the only option that he has would be to sell it to the adjacent property owners.
Well, for
He
me,
can't even build on it because it doesn't meet the minimum lot size requirements.
So how do we get around this state code that says we can only grant a variance, and says the fact that property may be utilized more profitably should a variance be granted may not be considered grounds for a variance? How do we get around that?
If you deny the variance, the land becomes unusable, and it's considered regulatory taking, because I have no option to extend the land. If it was, okay, next to Miss Jackie is a perfect example, your parcel, if I wanted to make the one next to you 1/2 an acre, I could simply extend it past that gate, I could get it resurveyed, and it could be 1/2 an acre, and it would conform, because it has access to water. But this acre is separate, is surrounded by other properties. .43 parcel, I mean, there's nothing I can do with it without the variance, and I follow all the requirements for the variance. So I just don't see there any reason. I understand what you're saying, that it would be maybe more sociably and neighborhood-wise beneficial for me. That doesn't mean I won't sell it to them. I've talked to her husband a couple times, quite a few people in the neighborhood, which is my intention, and it's the only option I have for other parcels. But this parcel is unique because it's separated, and I have nothing to do with how it's separated, but the bottom of your parcel is separated, and it cuts me off. So even if I wanted to make that 10 acres, I can't.
So all this information that you are sharing with us, is this stuff that you agree with, that you see, that you feel like he can't do this, he can't sell it here, he can't,
We don't say one thing or the other. That's why it comes before you guys to make the decision. What we say based on the area, there are lot sizes that are smaller than what the RD1 requirements are. That's not to say that they were created after the current zoning. They were created, before the current zoning. When the current zoning was put in place in 2012, it became non-compliant. So if someone wanted to buy a lot size, or someone along this area, for example, wanted to go ahead and further subdivide their lot, they would not be able to do that because it would not be.
It's against the law.
It's against the zoning.
Yeah, I know that, but
So
what
even
I'm saying is he's saying that, but yet he's willing to do a 0.
What he did, it's not that he's creating that though. He hadn't subdivided to create that. That already existed. He
Right.
purchased it at that
So
point.
ultimately, what
So
happened
he
is
purchased
It was part of the purchase of the whole parcel.
of the 73.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
so that's attached
It
to
was-
the overall parcel of 70-some acres, and it was a subdivision that went defunct
Yeah.
years ago, and that's why all the weird property lines are in existence and everything like
They were
that.
So this
basically
was
lots of
never
them,
subdivided. I mean, the
No.
owner, that person who had it always listed as one
They
big
had it
lot.
as one
According to the
parcel.
tax assessor right now, this is all one property, and this is essentially created an island that is not attached to, it's a non-contiguous piece of property.
So even if I wanted to extend it to 100 acres and I had the land, I couldn't because it's surrounded by her.
So you can
her
see it's
property
disconnected
and my
there?
neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that, and I can't, even at the tax assessor, there's already platted for 2 properties on that thing, but there's no law that would.
I'm not trying to confuse you,
allow
I'm
me
giving
to
you
do
information.
anything other than what's legal.
So
You know,
that's
all I'm
that
trying
lot
to do
right there.
is have the parcel that's only separate parcels. That's it. I'm not trying to build 2 houses on there. I understand what you're saying, that at one point in time, the minimum lot size is smaller. But all I'm trying to do is have a parcel that's not connected to mine, if that makes sense. So I just want to have a different tax. It might be 10 years from now.
So looking at it from the other point of view, if you didn't get the variance on it, then you have no negotiating power
So
whatsoever if you
get the
try
variance,
to sell it to a
the only
neighbor.
reprieve I would have would be to put a home on there because it meets all the minimum requirements for spacing from front, back, and side. It has access to all the water, so all I could do, my only reprieve would be to build a house and rent it out, which is back to square one, So, I mean, that would be what I would actually have to do. If I have a piece of land that's been regulatory taken to where I cannot do anything with it, but it's able to be hooked up to water and sewer, I would most likely just hook up to water and sewer. And then I'd have a house, and, it's just, I don't think I'm asking for anything out of the ordinary. Everything is by the book. It's all written in the land use.
So you're saying even without the variance, you would be able to you yourself could build a house on it?
Yeah, like if that was where I wanted to live.
So if that's the case, then without the variance, you can build a house on it. Without the variance, you can sell the piece to neighboring property owners. Then
to a neighboring property owner, but if they are interested, that's the only option I would have. Would be to sell to an abutting neighbor. But that puts me in a situation where.
But the only thing the variance is going to do is allow you to sell that as a house lot to someone else. Is that correct?
Or just a vacant lot, which is what it is now. But I mean, in reality,
Why do you have to have a variance to sell that as a vacant lot as it is right now? Is that the case?
Because I have to get.
So the only way he would be able to sell it right now
Resurvey.
is if he sold it to the adjacent property owners. Okay?
So you're not allowed to sell a piece of property that's 0.43 acres in this county.
No, ma'am.
Is that what you're saying?
No.
Okay.
No.
I think y'all are getting confused.
No, you can't separate your existing
I think-
property
What,
I
what
think-
he's saying is, if he build a house on there to sell, he's gonna have to subdivide it from his other larger tract.
And I would still have
And
to
he's
get an
not gonna
approved
be able to do
variance.
that
And you
without
still
a
have to
variance.
pursue a variance.
He have to get a
So
variance.
say I cleared that lot.
Even though it's
and put a
not
mobile
connected,
home
it's
on it,
still
and hook
one
it up to
parcel.
water and sewer, I would still have to get a variance to sell that to the neighbor, no matter what, you know.
So just,
So,
go ahead.
just to clarify, I think there's some confusion here. He would be able to sell the property as it is right now to the adjacent property owners.
Yes.
Only if those adjacent property owners resurvey their boundaries and go ahead and now include that portion of that parcel into their property and becomes one property.
Yes.
Okay? If they were just to say, you know what, I don't want to do that, I don't want to spend the survey, I just want to buy that lot as it is, you cannot do that.
Why?
Because you're creating another lot that falls below the minimum size requirements of RD1. Whenever there is a separate tax doc number issue, it is a separate piece of property. It's a separate parcel. Okay?
Well, would that be true even if they wanted to buy the whole lot just to add it to their property and make their property and the purchased property combine it into one?
Right, so if they were to combine into one, that's not an issue because it's becoming one property.
Yeah, but then
You
we
can
have
do
to,
that.
we have to get someone together. we
But
have
if
to come
the
together.
adjacent property owner were to say, you know what, I don't want to do that, I just want to buy that lot, and then say, you know what, I don't want it anymore, I'm going to sell it in the future. You can't do that because you have a new property now, that has a new tax number, and you're creating a property that does not meet the minimum size requirements.
Okay,
Then they would have to get it.
Yeah.
And they would have to get a variance.
so we can't just simply, if he wants this separate from this, he can't just simply say, all right, I want this to be separate from this because it's not big enough to meet the
Correct,
requirements.
because it doesn't
So
meet
that's
the
where the
minimum
variance
lot
has to
requirement.
come in from,
But
whatever
it
you
does
do
meet the
there.
requirements for a variance.
So,
Per the land use
So
regulation
if a-
guidelines.
If a neighbor,
mhm,
you know, I'm just using them as example because they have an interest,
mhm,
choose to say they want to purchase it,
mhm.
but they just want to get that part surveyed off, but not
Okay.
as a whole. They can't, you said they can't do that?
So they would be able to do that, but they would have to adjoin it to their current lot and increase their lot size. Okay?
So now they
They
would,
couldn't
But-
buy it as a separate parcel.
Okay, so
they
is
have to
this,
go-
is this, and I say this because I've been in a situation like this. And it was property beside us. It was less than the required amount,
Mhm.
and it was purchased. And something put on that property, but we didn't give over part of our portion. All we had to do was just sign off giving permission, because it was family,
Mhm.
permission for a part of their house to be on our property.
Mhm.
But we didn't have to, that person didn't have to purchase land from us. So for example, if it was large enough and they brought this portion right here, and this was their original land, they had this surveyed off and they wanted to put a house on it or enlarge their house,
Mhm.
you're telling me
They could do that, but only if they purchase the entire parcel. Because this is what would happen in your scenario.
they're this entire parcel
Correct.
that he owns.
Correct.
Okay,
So
yeah,
if-
that's,
if-
yeah. I
Right
mean,
now, the parcel is 0.43 acres. Okay? He comes to an agreement.
Yes.
Yeah, right, 0.43 acres. He comes to an agreement with one of the adjacent property owners. I'm not interested in 0.43 acres, I only want 0.25. It would not be allowed. Because
yeah, I
now
can
you would then
understand
be
that
shedding
part.
off a
Yeah.
parcel, making it even smaller. So the only way that he would be able to go ahead and do what you're saying without pursuing a variance
Mhm.
is if one of the adjacent property owners agreed to purchase the entire lot and include it in their current property and do a reboundary of the survey, and you're not creating a new lot, you're expanding a current lot. That could only be possible if they agree to purchase 0.43 acres.
And if that happened, the .43 would then
Be
be zoned
their
as
tax.
whatever the
Correct.
purchaser's property is.
It would be zone of the parent property that is consuming the smaller property. Right. So it is possible that he does have options to the land outside of variance with either the adjacent property owners if they're willing to go ahead and buy all that, the lot, add it to their current property and get that survey redone.
So question, besides what somebody wants me to do, is there anything that restricts me from being approved in this variance? Besides the neighbor opinion and offering this, is there any legal standing, any zoning standing that prevents me from being approved of this variance?
Yeah, state law.
It's too small.
So but it states in there, if I have access to public water, it can be under the, it's not.
Public water and sewer.
Water and sewer.
Right, public water and
Water
sewer
and
for
sewer.
half an acre.
That's it.
Half, 0.5 acres, not
It doesn't comply with the county's
But the
zoning.
county's zoning, that's the problem. It's our regulation.
Right, so in RD1 zoning district, which is this is, minimum lot sizes are 1 acre for those that are on septic tank systems. On those lots that are half of public water and sewer, it can be half an acre. Not anything less than half an acre.
Well, that's what the variance would be for, but it's not guaranteed. So I understand
Right,
what's
yeah,
going on. So what are we doing? Because there's so much information being thrown at me, I'm confused. I've talked to both of the utility entities. I mean, cable and stuff doesn't matter, obviously, but both the utility entities provide services to that neighborhood and can be used. And that's the only thing. Even DES said that there's no minimum lot size. The neighborhood will perk, multiple people sporadically have it.
None for them, but that has nothing to do with the
No, I'm
county.
just saying, but if the variance was approved, I mean, either way, if I was to build a house on there and try to sell it, we would go through the same process, or else I would just own a house on that lot, correct? And it would just be part of my master parcel?
So Jim, do you all require a letter from a provider?
Yes, so
Did
if
you
you
have-
were to go ahead and develop it and say, well,
So you
you know,
don't-
here's my letter and everything like that, then yeah, we would require that because,
But that's for development, not for variance. I mean,
No, it's for variance.
okay.
It's for
So-
variance.
So you don't require that before it's brought to the board?
so he does have, that's why the DES letter is there. So if you look at the I mean, it's not on the map you had, but on the GIS, there is water and sewer in the area, okay, on that road, okay?
There's sewer on that road, but you cannot connect to it. Cause my house was built in 2004, and we wanted to connect to that sewer, and they said that they couldn't put nobody else on that sewer. So we had to wind up getting a septic tank there.
There's no public,
And that was
Oh.
in
there's
2004.
no public sewer.
So in
But
that,
that's not approved for a septic tank on your lot?
I just said that we have one on there.
Oh, it was there previous?
No, we had to put it there.
Okay.
We had to buy it, and we had to.
Well, that's good for me, that means you most likely would perk next. I'm just asking for like, the test. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's good news for me, because if you guys have septic, then there's 99% chance I can put one.
so based off of that
It's a
example,
larger lot now.
so based off of that example, okay, according to the county, in order to put a septic tank system on the lot, the minimum lot size would have to be 1 acre. According to DES, there is no minimum lot size, and they would still issue the permit for the septic tank system. That could only be possible if you had a variance.
Well, we don't have
Because it
anything
doesn't
to do
meet
with
our-
DES.
That's what I keep saying.
Right.
Keep
Well,
doing
DES doesn't matter.
it.
This is a county ordinance.
Right, I'm just making sure that the information is there that
But it's
DES,
confusing,
you know,
'cause
this is a county thing, not to do with DES.
But you're saying it like it does, so it just kind of confuses you. I guess I can't get you to understand that if it makes you go.
I mean, we're just presenting the information that if you were to pursue septic tank system,
Yeah,
You
but I
wouldn't
mean,
have
you're
an
giving
issue
us
with
the
DES.
guidelines
Again,
for
it would
DES.
be
We
with
want
the
the county guideline, that's what I'm more concerned with, if we're meeting the county guideline. I understand.
Well, county
what-
guidelines are is that we need to have a DES permit issued. So if DES denies it, we don't issue the permit. So when someone comes into the
Yeah, I
office,
know they deny the septic system, but they don't require that 1 acre like the county may require if you're gonna do a septic. I mean, if you're gonna build a house, then you have to use a septic system.
no, but we do require as part of the permitting system that they have to have the approval from our DES in order for us to issue permits.
In the ideal world, it would have been addressed when the new zoning ordinance was put in, and it would have shown up that, hey, this is,
There are,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's
some of
probably
these don't
parcels
comply,
on
are we gonna grandfather them in or not? But there was no house there, so it's not gonna come to people's attention
That's right.
until it comes up.
until something like this happens.
I can't get around state law.
I can't either.
I'm sorry.
Which state law are we talking about?
Well, the one that said, the only thing I've heard all night is that he needs a variance so he can develop the property in a more profitable way And state law clearly says that we can't consider that.
I just don't want it connected to my land, it's not another property. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but my variance is so I can just get this off of my parcel, because it's a piece of land, it's got trees on it.
But I don't understand why you can't sell that or do something with that without getting it. I mean, if you sell that piece, that 1.43 acres to someone else, then it's no longer part of your parcel, right?
Correct.
So why, I don't understand
In the event that in the future, if I wanted to build, I mean, there was just a mobile home just put on a tiny lot right down the street from where I was at. Now, I understand it has an existing structure, but I'm just, in the event I wanted to give this lot to my children, I mean, it's just a lot that is separated. There's other ones in the neighborhood that are owned that are a tenth of an acre, 1.15 acres. I guess it's over my head in regards to what I need, but it has the public sewer hookup. When I called South Carolina Water Utilities, I gave them your address actually, because I don't have an address, and they said that they provide service to that address. So, and I got an 811. Yeah, I know. Well, you can see on the sewer map how it has the little pipes. I actually stuck my head into one on my property, but I mean, I think they said they provided service to Royal Hills Lane, Herb and Mid County Water said the same thing. I did not get letters because it wasn't on the application that I needed. I didn't know. But I mean, I'm not trying to come in here like I'm just a regular dude who's trying to move up here and build a horse farm for my wife. I just don't want to. There's trees on this land that are overgrown, that are facing people's homes, and I just don't want to have anything to do with the parcel. If you guys wanted to sell it, that's fine.
If you sell it to one of us, they saying that we have to add it to our
Yeah,
existing property. I wouldn't wanna add it, I wanna do what you're doing and make me some money as well. So no, I don't think that variance gonna work with me, because the property is behind me.
So
I would like it, the one by her, she might wanna, it's right there by her, and yeah.
would you,
Why do we have to add it to our existing property and can't just keep that little piece like he got? Like he wanted.
because of the variance, because of the new zoning law. The zoning law has changed to where, I understand what you're saying, like the lot that's next to you to the north, you could put something on there.
But you want me to add it to my, I don't
Yeah,
wanna do
so
that.
basically, if you wanted to absorb that lot, you could make me an offer on it, you and I could go to survey people together, we could get a quote on
But
what
if somebody else wants to buy it
So what would happen is,
they could
instead of
just
you having
come in,
3 parcels,
couldn't they?
you would have one
I
title.
don't-
Not unless it was an adjacent property, because they would be creating.
I know,
I'm
but you
saying
want the same
right.
thing.
But
You
could
wanna
I-
have 1, 2, 3, so
But could I, you saying I can't?
you
He's
can.
saying no.
Well, so what I would have
You
to
understand
do
this
is
is
I would
part of
have
this
to make
larger
that
triangle.
I do
acres.
understand
Okay,
that.
so if a person were to say, I don't want this, I just want to buy this,
I'd have to
okay.
go past that fence.
They cannot do that
It's such a
because
weird
it would
area.
not meet the minimum lot size requirements.
Can you get some order?
Excuse me, guys, can we get back under control, please? We do have a public hearing scheduled after this, so if you guys want to make your comments, you guys are able to. Okay, so do you guys have any more discussion or any more questions? Is there any more confusion about what the property is? So, like I said, like you were asking, okay, well, if someone were to sell the property, can they approach him right now, who is not the adjacent property owner, and purchase the property? Okay. No, they cannot, because they would then be creating a lot that does not meet minimum lot size requirements.
Okay, a lot to me means a house lot.
But that's still
A lot to be developed, but so you can't own any piece of property anywhere that's
I
not
think
less
you
than.
need just the clarity, because this is one track. If he was to sell it, he would have to subdivide it. He would have to cut that track off.
Mm-hmm.
And if he was to cut this smaller, we would not be able to do to subdivide it, because it don't meet minimum lot size.
Right. So if you were to come in,
That's
if you were to come in with the survey and say, I want to break off that portion, it would be denied because it's less than the half acre.
Which is what happened. My survey guy was like, you can't do what you want to do, you have to do variance, which everybody seemed to think of.
So, because all that's one, even though it's not touching, it's still one parcel.
So could we fix this if you just make me an offer?
He can sell this.
I mean, all I'm trying to do
He can
is
sell it, but they have to,
just
the
have a
adjacent,
lot to use,
the
do
property
my
owners
kids,
is
sell to
touching,
them, improve
have
the
to
neighborhood.
make
You
their
guys are gonna get more
parcels
tax money.
larger. He can sell.
I think she's already
I mean,
said
it
though,
keeps
she
sounding
wouldn't
like-
attach it to her property, she would
Yeah,
keep
that's
it
what I mean.
separate.
Would you be willing to resurvey and join all your parcels and
You talking to me or Jack?
you, because you're my neighbor in this variance here. Jackie lives on another part, But this parcel is in regards to the property that's flooding here.
So I look for you to give me the price, not me make an offer.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you looked at the land prices around here.
Can they discuss it? Chair.
Yeah, I know, right?
Chair.
There's no
Can
steals
they
around
discuss
here.
buying the property at a later time?
Yeah, I mean, I was,
Needs to happen here, but,
For more information.
yeah, so y'all ready to vote?
That's what I would
yeah, I mean,
suggest.
All right,
4 acre lots are, yeah, that's.
I think we're ready to make a motion.
Well, you guys need to open up the public hearing first before you vote on it.
Okay,
Well, don't we need a motion?
For the public hearing, yeah.
okay. Like to make.
I move that the variance request be approved.
We got to
You
first
gotta
make a
have to make
motion
a
that
motion
we
for the
have
public
a
hearing
public
first.
hearing.
We have,
Have to have a public hearing right now, Karen.
what have we just had?
That's what I heard. Has any of the public not said anything that they would like to say? But, all right, technically though, we're gonna do that,
Okay.
okay? Motion to have a public hearing,
Motion.
okay. All right, any opposed? Okay, we are now open to public hearing, so anyone here from the public like to say anything official?
So if y'all would like to say something, please come to the front of the table and we'll start your timer.
No, we was
Yeah.
just concerned about, cause we saw the sign out there and we didn't get no notice or anything like that. So when we saw the sign, that's why we came up to see what was going on.
Okay.
Because this kind of stuff happened out there in my mom's, where my mom stayed. They had a zoning meeting and we did not know nothing about it.
Okay, well, we're glad you saw the sign and are here. Would you like to make any official statements about,
No, just
The
as
property?
long as, my property don't get touched, I'm good.
I'd like
And
to
he
say-
don't want, and he wanna sell it, but he's talking about over $10,000. And just for that right there is a little ridiculous. I'm just.
So I just wanna mention that all I'm trying to do is, beautify the neighborhood. I'm not trying to like come in and build a bunch of houses and sell stuff, and I just wanna be able to give this away or sell it if I need to, and I mean, I just don't wanna be put into a situation of regulatory taking where you guys are keeping me from being able to subdivide. It meets the variances, and it has public utilities provided. I'm not trying to do anything. If anything, I would be helping with flooding issues. I'd be helping with overgrown trees that are leaning towards your house. I mean, that's what I do for a living as grounds maintenance. So I know I'm only going to benefit from getting rid of this lot or cleaning it up. You know, I mean, I don't know what to say. I don't know if I have so much information, but everything I'm trying to do is just going to be positive for the neighborhood and for her. So that's it.
thank you. Anybody else?
So another option that you guys do have, if you didn't want to vote on it, you table it to get further information.
We got a motion on the floor, don't we?
We're
Not
about
yet.
to have.
Not yet.
Would anybody like to make a motion?
I will. I move that the variance request be approved.
Is there a second? Am I not a second?
Yeah, you are. If you propose the motion, you can go ahead and second it.
I second it. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Pass.
Okay,
A tie
the motion
is a
fails,
denial.
is not passed.
I believe so.
Okay,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You're right.